Hello. So here we are again. Seems like just yesterday we did this. In fact, it was 4 or 5 days ago. And because of Thanksgiving being Thursday, I figured I'd just do it today. Most people are going to be very busy with family and whatnot on Thursday. And Mrs. 88 is off, and we're using Thursday to do all this Christmas decoration. So we already have people in the chat, which is wonderful. So I'll go through these quickly, and then we'll go on to sort of the topic of the stream, which is the build up to Christmas, because it was always this time of year that you would start looking at the catalogues, circling what toys you wanted, and if you're lucky, we may even take a look at an Argos catalogue. So the first comment in is from Kickback 1985. He's looking forward to it. Jim, good to see you. Kieran is here. Good to see you, Kieran. Tim, glad you could make it. Yes, it is the build up to Christmas. And Samantha, also here. Good day to you too. George Aitken, always pleasure to see you. Ryan, a bonus live stream during my lunch break here in Portland. Oh, you're welcome. Connor is here. It's Christmas nearly. Yeah. 1980s and Star Wars guy. Good to see you. And Biker Scout is here. Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Oops. Yeah, fantastic result at the football. It was one of these games that I fully expected to lose. And Hibs were just absolutely fantastic. So now I've got a cup final to look forward to next month. And George does indeed confirm that it was 3-1 to Hibs against the Rangers. Fantastic. Okay. Monkey Boy Cloth Cat. Hello, everybody. We've got Des T. Good evening. Jonathan. Good to see you. And so Biker is a Aberdeen fan, but he was happy to see the Old Firm get beat. Yes, indeed. Stan Solo is here. Good to see you as well, Chris. Bjorn is here. Yes, we may start. Gerard is here. You beautiful bunch. And there we go. Gojitron is here. And the wonderful Scuba Pete is here. So, as I was saying earlier, it was always like end of November that you would start thinking about your list to Santa. And it got me thinking. I'm assuming that kids today do not go through that same experience we went through because, well, for a start, everything's online. But it was just a wonderful time to be a kid when those massive catalogs, I mean, these things were like this thick, would arrive. And aside from taking a peek at the ladies' lingerie section, you always went straight to the toy section. And I remember it was 1983 was my big Star Wars year. So for the whole year, I'd been talking about Star Wars. And by about this time, I had settled that I wanted Star Wars toys. And what I really wanted was, of course, the Millennium Falcon and the AT-AT, which sadly never happened. But I did get 4 mid-sized vehicles and play sets, plus figures and mini rigs and things. But I almost gave my mom a heart attack because probably the first or second week of December, I had a change of heart. And I no longer wanted Star Wars toys. I wanted a home computer. And if I remember rightly, it was a toss-up between Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. And I said, look, I want a computer. I want to play games, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, my mum says, well, too bad you're getting Star Wars toys. And in the end, I was happy with the Star Wars toys. But if I'd planned things a bit better, I may have been able to have gotten the computer if I hadn't been so keen to tell them how much I love Star Wars toys. So we'll try and catch up with the chat again. So Monkey Boy has said, so what are you going to ask Santa for this year? Well, this is the thing about being grown up, is that there are no more surprises. And have, or I did buy myself some rather big Masters of the Universe items, which I'm sure you know what they are. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep these for Christmas. I said to Mrs. 88, you take these, you wrap them, and you put them under the tree because they're such big boxes. They're going to look great wrapped up. So that's pretty much, I think, what I'm going to be looking forward to on Christmas. There might be a surprise or two, but sadly, I haven't had a really great Christmas surprise since, I don't know, 1985 or something. You know, once the magic of Christmas is gone and there's no more Santa Claus, I'm not saying Christmas has sucked since then, but I am saying that there was something truly magical about being a kid and firmly believing that Santa would come on his sleigh and deliver all these amazing gifts. Just hasn't been the same since then, I'm afraid. So back to the chat. Yep, love your figures. Just ordered another one. Oh yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. And I actually have another video coming out. I think it'll be on Friday, highlighting another one of these great figures. And I tell you what, those Force Ghosts are something. If you've seen my video, that Yoda is absolutely spot on. And looking at that figure, I'm now thinking that Kenner made a mistake giving Yoda that cloth cape, because this one is so much better. I understand why Kenner did it, to try and sort of give perceived value to a tiny figure, but that sculpted robe is much, much better, in my opinion, of course. Yes, if you follow the All Things 80s Twitter, on Amazon, I ordered myself some, I think they were Glenlivet Scotch whiskey mince pies for Christmas. That and a case of Iron Brew. The Iron Brew, bloody hell, that was $40 for 12 bottles of Iron Brew. But I guess that's the penalty for living so far from Scotland. And Jim has a great comment. He misses those Christmas catalogues. Well, that was the thing. And it wasn't just the big mail order catalogues. All the stores did them. Boots did them. I think John Menzies did one. Definitely Boots. Possibly Woolworths as well. And I remember back in the day, everyone said, it's not Christmas until the Woolworths advert appears on TV. And just seeing those commercials appear on TV, you knew what was coming, and that was, of course, Christmas. And I always remember my mum would bring home the Boots one a few times, because she would go to, well, we would go to visit her mum, my grandmum, and we always had to change buses in Edinburgh, and the bus stop was right outside Boots. Or across, in fact, going there it was across the road from Boots, but my mum would always pick up these catalogues. And I always remember getting a chuckle at some of these companies, because they would pose the action figures with the wrong weapons or with the wrong vehicle. Like you would see Darth Vader sitting in an X-Wing or something. That was always a good laugh to sort of spot the mistake kind of thing. And Jim said, hi Dean, for me it was the Sears Wish Book. Consumers distributing in Canada. Star Wars vintage was a thrill. Yeah. That's one thing. I'd really like to buy a vintage catalogue from back in the day, but my God, they're expensive. Obviously, we have the scanned ones, but it's not quite the same. And Tim says, yeah, you should be happy with Star Wars toys. Yeah, of course, I was at, come Christmas Day in '83, I was very happy. It was just that someone at school had a home computer, and they were telling me what they could all do and what games they would play. I'm like, oh my God, I want to be part of that. And as it was, I never did get a home computer. Still have mixed feelings over the C64. Santa is real. I have his football card. Only one Kenobi is here. Good to see you. Uh, Tim says Star Wars were the ultimate child's Christmas presents during the 80s. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I keep meaning to arrange a live stream where I get people of varying ages on to try and determine when was the best year to be born. Because I think me being born in 74, I got the best of Star Wars. So I was actively buying and collecting Star Wars from 1980 until spring of 84. So I got a pretty good run at it. I know that people who were born earlier than me may have got in at the beginning, but by the time the Jedi figures were out, they may have been too old for Star Wars. And if you were born, I'm going to say, what, 79, 80, you almost certainly missed out on Star Wars. So for those of you that are watching that are a bit younger than me, what were your like major toy franchises of the 80s? Because I'm sure by 85, Star Wars was pretty much off the shelves. Ryan says, my Christmas catalogues toy section, printing and pictures are always worn out, torn and faded from looking at the toys so much. Yeah, also for some reason, the lingerie pages were worn and faded from my catalogues. Don't know why, but they were. Um, so Michael is doing the same thing with his Motu Origins. Yeah, because let's be honest, there's nothing better than the sight of a massive gift wrap box under the Christmas tree, and they don't come much bigger than one of these Motu Origin boxes. So Jim is saying Christmas tree meals at home, balcony lights, TV specials evoke Christmas. Yeah. No apology required. It's only, what, 12 minutes? Wow, that's flown by. Oh my God. Come on, the Jambos. Oh dear. Wait a minute. I'm going to keep my eye on you because I have a list of users that I have questions about, and you might be one of them. Iron Brew is like, yeah, absolutely is. And it's just a pity that to get it here in America is so expensive. But I've said to myself, so I bought a pack of 12 of these bottles. What are they, like 500 mil? I cannot touch them until, what, December 20 at the earliest, and I'm going to stick to that. So Kickback says, first time I got anything from Argus was a G1 Grimlock when I was 10 in 85. My parents won a 2-week holiday to Blackpool. Nice. Right, so in case you don't know, 80s and Star Wars guy is probably the youngest viewer here, which I think is fantastic. He says, what happens with me is, because my mum hasn't got a clue who the names of that background, Jabba Guard, etc. are, I just show my mum what I want and she buys it. Yeah, I get why you would do that. There's no surprise with that, though. Excuse me. Scott says, just wanted to say the videos this morning about Christmas commercials brought the complete range of emotions. If I needed further help, that would have put me in the Christmas spirit. Oh, good. Just so you know, so it's on Patreon today. So last year, I released 2 videos at the same time. One was a compilation of Christmas commercials from the 80s from the UK, and one was a compilation of Christmas commercials from the 80s from the US. Since they were published a year ago, the video highlighting the commercials from the UK has had 15,000 views. The one with the commercials from the US has had 435 views. I have no idea why, so I re-uploaded the American one and gave it a different thumbnail, different title, to see if that changes anything. I have no idea what the case is with this. The disparity between the two doesn't make any sense, so we'll find out once that one goes live tomorrow. And the funny thing is, I used to have a stack of old catalogues under my bed. that as a kid I would look through from time to time. As with a lot of stuff, it ended up getting tossed out, which is so upsetting. Mark Telford is here. Evening, sir. And Michael, I had a trip to Edinburgh over the weekend. Kept seeing buses for Bonnyrigg. Nice. That would be what? The number 31, I think. Chris says, yeah, we always say it's not Xmas until the Coca-Cola advert is on. Yeah. Although I'd much rather be back in time watching those Woolworths commercials. Have you seen pictures of the new St. James Centre? Really nice Lego store. The only thing I know about this is that the sculpture on the roof looks like a coiled turd. I don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, I'd like to, when I'm back, I'm definitely going to go visit there. I have good memories of St. James Centre, actually. In fact, my infamous uncarding of the Luke Jedi figure is related to St. James Centre, because the one I bought without the weapons was from John Lewis, that was part of the old St. James Centre. Yes, it was always St. James Centre, and that's where the bus station was. I always remember with my mum, we would go shopping at St. James and then go outside to the old bus terminal. Yeah. One commercial that I'm surprised wasn't in the commercial video was the Noriko commercial with Santa riding in the 3 pivoting head shave head. I don't know that one. The trouble was, when I put those together, whenever it was, like over a year ago, I had to sort of edit some things because of the usual copyright, even though these are like, in some cases, 4 decades old. As a kid, the Yogi Bear Christmas special heralded the beginning of the holiday season. Yeah. I'm thinking here in America, isn't the big deal over is it the Charlie Brown? Is it a Thanksgiving? Or am I thinking of Halloween? I don't even know. But yeah, there was always something that triggered the fact that Christmas was just round the corner. And I think for most people of my age in the UK, the Woolworths commercial was the one. John never got many Star Wars toys. My brothers and I mostly got G.I. Joes. Yeah, for me, so like I said, 83 was the big Christmas for Star Wars. 84 would have been Transformers, I think. Or hang on, 84. Oh, that was my music Christmas. I got my hi-fi system and records in 84. So 85 I got Transformers, because the UK was always a year behind. George says, end of January 84, replaced my Commodore 16 for an Armstead CPC 464. My dad played the free Fruit Machines games on it all the time. The other thing about home computers back then was you had to use the TV. And I think a lot of homes, even by the time the computers were out, were still 1 TV homes. So it wasn't always possible to play your games, because maybe your mum was watching Coronation Street or something. Or your dad was watching, in my case, he was watching the bloody cricket test matches. I'm not going to say I hate cricket, but I have a strong dislike of cricket, because my dad would just spend hours watching the test matches on TV, and I was wanting to watch A-Team or something. He'd have BBC Two on with these boring test matches. Agreed. As a 72 kid, I was weaning off it before the last 17. Yeah, that's what I figured. That I'm thinking if you were born in, 75, 76, you may have had the best run at Star Wars. But for me, spring of 84, that was it. I was done. Did you ever get Mego figures? Now, I could be wrong on this. I didn't get Mego figures in the classic sense, but I did get, I think it's Mego, was a 12-inch alien from Star Trek, the motion picture. I think he was called Arcturian or something. The weirdest looking character, like a melted chocolate face. And I remember being thoroughly confused by it because obviously at that time, this must have been like 1980 or something. I hadn't seen the motion picture. And my experience of Star Trek was the classic original TV show. And I could not understand where this character fit in, but I think that was a Mego figure. But I didn't have the classic Mego superheroes. So Biker was also born in 74. Definitely the best year to be born as it encompassed Action Man, Action Force, Star Wars, Motu, Transformers, and Mask. Yeah, that's a very good point. So for me, I have no exposure to real Ghostbusters, Thundercat toys, Power Rangers. But I think I was around for the best of the best. Uh, Des of 72 was the best 5 years old for the start of Star Wars. Yeah, that's I think that's probably is the best year. But the trouble with that is, so by 82 you're already 10, by 84 you're 12, and if you're in the UK you'd be into high school before the last 17 hits. So you may have been out of Star Wars by then. Kieran, Dean, I believe you meant to say 68. Wow. Definitely there for the first showing of Star Wars. Tim is saying G.I. Joe was one, then Play-Doh, which was also made by Kenner. Yeah, I used to enjoy Play-Doh. My mum not so much because I would always end up dropping it and stomping it into the carpet. So Scuba, I've got an 82 or 83 Montgomery Ward Christmas catalogue I'll bring to the December. Oh, fantastic. Yes, please do. Love to see that. And George says, 85, you could still buy Return of the Jedi merch in the discount shops in Glasgow. An Ewok village cost a tenner. Wow. Yeah, I think I've said this many times. I still have a very strong memory in my village in Scotland or town. I forget. I never decided if it's a village or a town. I think it's a town now. It may have been village then. Anyway, the R.S. McCall's newsagent sold Star Wars figures. And I remember seeing on the little turning stand, Luke Skywalker Stormtrooper outfit, 49p. And I thought nothing of it. Chris is 75, so pretty much the same as me. Jedi was my main line for when I got into the figures. So I definitely got into it when they were still doing the Empire Strikes Back cards, because my first two figures were Darth Vader and the Hoth Stormtrooper. And I do remember the card back saying Empire Strikes Back. And my mini rig, was it the PDT-8, was also branded Empire. In fact, I don't think it ever came out on the Jedi box, but my Tauntaun was also very much the Empire card. And with only 3 channels, the catalogues was all about toys and tits. It certainly was. And also the shower section. Yep. Samantha, also a 72 model, had Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Care Bears, and Strawberry Shortcake competed for my folks' holiday dollars in the early 80s. Yeah. And we still never decided if the reason the TIE Fighter pilot smells so good is because he was packaged in the same factory as Strawberry Shortcake. That's one of the rumors. Never got to the bottom of why that one figure smelled so good. I get root beer from Beverages Direct. They run about the same price. Yeah, I mean, $40 for 12 bottles of soda is ridiculous. But what can you do? what could I do? There's nothing. There's no way around it because I don't believe you can. Can you ship soda overseas? Because if it goes in the plane, does the compression of the air do something to it? Who knows? But yeah, $40, whatever. Anyway, born in '69, saw New Hope in the theater. I would be 6 years or more before ever seeing the cantina scene with Obi-Wan cutting off the guy's arm because my sister covered my eyes. Um, then Robotech was another one, even though the action figures. Yeah, Robotech is something I have no experience with either. Still remember the very first time the Hasbro UK Transformers toy commercial on TV. Couldn't believe what I was watching. A robot that turns into a car. I was hooked. Oh yeah, I've shared this before, but I was hooked the minute someone in my class brought in Soundwave and did the transformation, and I was blown away. And then he took out the mini cassette and transformed that. I'm like, holy crap, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And that would have been probably late 85, like maybe autumn 85. And that's when I got Transformers for that Christmas. And again, wanted Optimus Prime so badly, was sold out everywhere, and ended up with Jetfire, which I think was probably a nicer Transformer. And right on cue, my first ever Argos purchase was Optimus Prime. Well, purchased by my mum, of course, yeah. So only one Kenobi wasn't buying in the 80s, but born in 81. I have two significantly magical Star Wars Christmas gifts, the AT-AT and the Millennium Falcon circa 85, 86. Wow. So that was well after the hype had died down. Wow. Oh, Bjorn, you're a young one. Wow. I think I have 84 Toy Master catalogs somewhere. Yeah, I have a number of not mail order catalog, but a lot of catalogs that came with the toys, and I just love going through those sometimes. And Samantha says, love the brew, but very much have to be sparing with it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to make these 12 bottles last from about December 20 till New Year. Shouldn't be at all difficult. And I was walking past my supermarket. So they have what they call a beer cave, and that also has a window to the front of the street. And I was walking past the window today. I saw they had a case of what they call Christmas ale. So I may have to see what that's all about. Keith Knight, good to see you. Godparents gave me the X-Wing Land Speeder birthday close to Christmas, so any present Star Wars related was great Christmas. 78 was a great memory. Wow. Biker got the B-Wing in 84 and Jetfire 85. I was Jetfire 85. As I said earlier, in fact, the Transformer was going to be a gift from my grandma, and I wanted Optimus Prime, and evidently she couldn't get it, and she had bought Megatron instead. And round about beginning of December, she sort of said in passing, "Oh, do you like that Transformer that changes into a gun?" And I said, "No, I don't really." And then she then went to my mom, and I overheard the conversation. I felt so bad. And it turned out that my grandma went back and changed Megatron for a Jetfire. Let's see. Born in 79. Had a lot of Star Wars toys as a kid. Other big toy lines from my childhood were He-Man, Thundercats, and Action Man. Yeah, so you're 4 years younger, so I'm guessing that's how you were able to get the Thundercats. But I distinctly remember watching the cartoon, so I don't know how the toys passed me by, because I must have been into the cartoon at an age I was still goofing around, because I remember trying to reenact some scenes from Thundercats, because I had a sword that my dad had made, and I remember jumping around the back garden with a sword, sort of reciting lines from the cartoon. So why I didn't get the toys is a mystery. Tim says, Pee-wee's Playhouse was another action figure line I enjoyed. That's one that I'm not familiar with. I mean, I'm assuming you mean Pee-wee Herman, right? Um, Good to see you, Michael. So nice to have Dean to listen to while I'm tediously trying to set up for an evening recording. Glad to be of assistance. I absolutely love 80s Christmas commercials. I was actually watching them when your live stream notification popped up. Awesome. So, as I said, tomorrow there will be a video coming out. It's just a compilation of American 80s Christmas commercials. So, hopefully, more people will watch it this time. Still an absolute mystery what happened last year. And Jim says, Dean, I'd like to know which ladies' catalogues piqued your interest. Any funny stories you're going to share? Yes. Now, I was thinking about this just this morning. People in the UK, was Marshall's one of the big, thick mail order catalogues? That rings a bell with me. I seem to remember Littlewood's being the other one, but I guess this is a funny story. Um, as I said earlier, once the catalogues were out of season, my mum would give them to me to keep. And I remember going through the underwear section and looking for the most see-through bra I could find. And then for some reason, I would take little pieces of blue tack. I don't know if they have blue tack here in America, but it's very similar to like plasticine, but it was used to stick posters on the walls. Anyway, I would take little dots of plasticine and place them on the appropriate parts. I must have been what, I don't know, 9 or 10. I guess I've always had an eye for the ladies, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So this is going back to the St. James Centre in Edinburgh. Despite the coiled golden turd, the new St. James Centre looks a lot nicer than the old, nostalgia aside. Yeah, now, am I right in saying when you would walk into the old one, you had, I think it was HMV was immediately on your left. You would walk, as you walk straight, there would be an entrance to John Lewis. Then you would make a left, and it kind of zigzagged round the way to, there was what was the sports shop? Oh, damn it. Someone from the UK will remember a classic 80s sports shop. But I remember the sports shop and John Lewis being my favourites as a kid. And then in later years, I would go into the HMV quite a lot. Yeah, the new St. James Centre looks like Ghostbusters Stay Puft Man topped with a Mr. Whippy. So what was the reason behind this golden coiled turd on the top? I mean, the pictures I've seen, it looks pretty ridiculous, but who knows? What's this? Anyone know or heard of the Godzilla Hotel in Tokyo? I have not. Speaking of Tokyo, that's definitely on my to-do list. And COVID aside, but it might happen sooner rather than later. So we're still, fingers crossed, hoping to maybe get to visit Thailand early next year. And as a non-Thai national, the most I can get for a tourist visa is 60 days. But I can then leave Thailand and then come back in for a further 30 days to give us 3 months there. And I'm thinking to escape Thailand for a week or so, maybe Japan, because there's so much there that I really want to see. And of course, the toy scene is just out of this world. So Michael was in St. James Centre the other day. It does look like a turd, but the John Lewis Cafe has incredible views over the city and the Firth of Forth. I always remember the John Lewis Cafe, going there with my mom and getting a scone with jam and cream. Oh, fantastic. Those were the days. I also remember, was it the Jenner's tea room? That was a beautiful, like old-fashioned style tea room, which had pretty decent views over to the castle. In fact, do people still go out for afternoon tea? That's something I've often wondered. Like a nice tray with, nicely cut sandwiches on the bottom. Next tier would be scones, and the top tier would be fancy cakes. Oh man, I'd love to do that again. Tim says, I still get the Christmas Lego catalogue. Best bog read. Love it. I actually have it as well. I wasn't all that impressed with it this year, to be honest. I'm assuming you mean this one. And yes, I am actually about to start building this very set. I filmed the introduction to the video, but I'm not going to film myself building it because I really want to sit back and enjoy the process and not be worrying about what I'm doing is in frame or anything. The one or two things that caught my eye in this that I thought were a bit much. Obviously, much has been made about the $800 AT-AT, but I saw something that was quite shocking. So for the Titanic model, that's coming in at $630. That's just over 9,000 pieces, and they have a cat bulldozer, 3,800 pieces for $450. So these are definitely not pocket money toys. And some of the stuff they're doing now is getting to be a bit silly. I don't know how well this is coming across, but you've got a typewriter that doesn't actually type, and you've got a Fender Strat and little amp. And you see, the thing with Lego is, and it's the same with the Star Wars things, the Batman things, you can only do so much with straight lines. And in the case of that Fender Strat, I think it looks like absolute crap. But there you go. Anyway, so Mark says, next time you're in this area, you'll need to give me a shout. I'm based at Bilston, and I'm sad to say I don't know where Bilston is. I'm also sad to say that I've forgotten a ton of street names. When I was there just over 2 years ago, I was trying to describe where somewhere was, and I was having a hell of a time because I could not remember street names. Excellent. So Monkey Boy is getting into the Christmas spirit already with a couple of mince pies. Yeah, I have 12 mince pies that also came from Amazon. Again, I won't touch them until December 20. So Samantha confirms that Charlie Brown was a big introduction to Christmas time. So Tim liked the Hot Wheels color changer toy cars. So as you may have seen, I received a bunch of Matchbox color changers from Will in New Zealand that I've still to do a video on. I haven't even tested them yet, so I'm going to see if they still do change color. So Kieran says, Jim and Dean, just so you know, the great Universal Catalogues had an extensive ladies' underwear section filled with really beautiful ladies. Yeah, and that's the other thing as well that I liked about them, because I guess, how do I say this in the most sensitive way? I've noticed it myself in places like Walgreens, in the makeup section, that some of the adverts they have on the walls, the ladies are not really that attractive, and that's me being polite about it. I guess they want to involve all shapes, sizes, and levels of beauty. That's fine, but back in the day, they only had the hottest of the hot, so it was a joy to behold back then. It's not Christmas until Hermie the elf yanks out all of the Bumble's teeth. I have to confess that I don't know what any of that means. You see, I'm in a weird position being here because as I said before, all my memories are from the UK, which is why I do these streams at this time slot, because I want to capture as much of the UK audience as possible. So a lot of the American stuff I am not at all familiar with, and I'm assuming the Americans that are watching this don't know a lot of what I'm talking about from my 80s memories. So Tim is now telling me that, yes, Charlie Brown used to come on every major holiday: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, Valentine's Day, and Easter. Then were always a few non-holiday specials, right. So, excuse me, so I'm assuming once the Thanksgiving Charlie Brown comes on, you know that Christmas is just going to happen a few days later. In fact, over here, I was shocked to hear Shakin' Stevens' Merry Christmas Everyone being played at the end of October. That was pushing it a bit. But all the shops are now fully on board with Christmas. A couple still have their Thanksgiving displays up. Obviously, those will come down on Friday and will be full on Christmas mode, which is a good thing in my opinion. Gerard says, in Ireland, it's the late toy show that really kicks off Christmas for all the kids. I believe this Friday night. Wow. So going back to the home computers, the Armstead came with a green screen monitor. Wow. So when we start the Christmas live streams, which I can't believe actually start next Thursday, we're going to be looking in some depth at the Christmases of a few select years, and there will be a lot of focus on some of the home computer systems that were out at the time, as well as the handheld electronic games and whatnot. So Gojitron's Big Christmas was 78. Shogun Warriors, Godzilla, and the first wave of Star Wars vehicles and playsets. Wow, what a time to be a kid, to capture that first wave. Yeah, I just missed out on that. Like I said, 1980, I was introduced to the Empire Strikes Back things. And Mark says, cricket, no thanks. The song that began, I don't like cricket, should have stopped after that verse. And Kieran says, it's not Christmas until you hear nuns singing and see Nazis trying to kill children. So Tim's brothers had Mego figures of Star Trek and Planet of the Apes, right. Wow, we really are behind, because my cricket conversation was a long time ago. Each to their own, of course, but watching cricket is about exciting as watching. Yeah, and if that wasn't bad enough, when it was nice outside, he would have cricket on the radio. And of course, I'd want to play football with him. He'd say, "Okay, just let me have one more innings," and then it'd be all, "Okay, give me a second, one more innings, then we'll play football." I never did get to play much football with him. He was glued to his transistor radio. Biker says, I don't remember seeing any Last 17 in the shops in Scotland. It was all about the Transformers for me by that stage. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I mean, Star Wars really did die a sudden death. Like I said, they had Last 17 on sale for 49 pence in my little town. So you can only imagine that in the big cities, they would have just been whipped off the shelves and new stuff brought in. George says, 84 was a great year. Second year of the Action Force teams, Ghostbusters, Temple of Doom, 2000 AD, and the Armstrad. Wow. It's not Christmas until Watership Down traumatizes everyone. You know what? I don't think I've seen that, and that's through choice, because I don't know. I cry way too easily, and I've always avoided things that would make me look like a big pussy. So I've not seen that. I don't think I will. Likewise, I've seen E.T. once, and that was in the theater in '82. I haven't watched it since. I just joined, so not sure if you talked about these. I was born in '73. My favorite action figures were Micronauts. My brother, who was born in 76, loved Star Wars action figures. Yeah, 76 would have been, yeah, would have caught probably what, all of Jedi and Power of the Force. So it's a pretty good time to be a kid. Anyone else have the comic where Santa is the most powerful mutant? Time control, dimension control, omnipotent telepathy, telekinesis, weather control, animal communication, teleportation. Wow, he really was the all-conquering Santa. Uh, and he stops a battle between the X-Men and the Brotherhood. I don't know anything about that, but it does sound pretty awesome. Kieran says when he hunts for the 12-inch Mego figures on eBay, they all seem to suffer from grey face blight. Such a shame. Now, Vintage Dave Toy Rush did something about that, and that was, I think, using Plasti Dip. I think it was red Plasti Dip, because you can put it paint it on the figure's face, give it a day, let it harden. When I say harden, it's still going to be rubbery. You can then peel it off, and the grey complexion is looking a bit more healthy again. So don't be put off by them having grey faces, because it can be cured. Wow, we got another young one here, born in '86. First saw Jedi taped off the TV on a VHS. Just rewatched the Jabba's palace scene over and over. Yeah, those were the days when we would tape things off the TV. Born in '69, Star Wars was my all-time favorite. Thought Transformers and G.I. Joe were awesome, but only had a few pieces from each line. Yeah, that's what happens as you get older. You do miss out on certain toy lines, which is why, like I said earlier, I missed out on Thundercats, Power Rangers, um, most of Mask, actually. I don't think I was aware of the second wave of Mask vehicles. Right, so John says he was too old for Turtles and Power Rangers because he was born in '78. So I was definitely too old by that point. And Darth, Wizzy Wizard, his grandmother was from Glasgow. Nice. I have a strong memory of getting Soundwave and the speeder bike at the Enoch Centre in Glasgow. Enoch Centre, I think I've been there actually. In fact, we were there possibly circa, what, September, October 2 years ago. I remember we took a trip through to Glasgow and ended up in one sort of big shopping centre. Wow, what's this? I actually travelled to London to see Star Wars when it first opened in cinemas. Wow, nice. And Scuba says, did anyone's mum have you make homemade Play-Doh? We did. It was this strange salty flour weirdness. I'm pretty sure if you baked it, it would have made great pretzels. Yes, I remember making it. And my mom used food colouring as well to colour it. And I remember playing with it and ending up having green hands afterwards. But it was all, she made it, it was a bit too dry. And anything I made from it tended to crack very easily. But yeah, same thing with the paper mache. Remember, we used to blow up a balloon and then get newspaper, and it'd be like a weird, I'm going to say, was it flour and water mixture? Could it be flour? I don't know, but it was a weird mixture that you would dip the strips of newspaper in and stick it over the balloon. Then you would pop the balloon and you'd be left with like a ball of rock hard newsprint. The things we did as kids. So Goonies says, my brothers and I, me being the oldest, saw the first Star Wars figures on the pegs at a store called Holiday back in what must have been '78. Wow. So Monkey Boy says he's 77. So his main toy lines were Jedi, but my dad owned a toy shop. So I was quite lucky with gifts growing up. Wow. Probably the ultimate dream of most kids back then, having a dad that owned a toy shop. So St. Enoch's was still a car park in the 80s. Oh, I thought we were the only ones that smelled newly owned. Oh no, there's nothing quite like that new plastic smell. Um, Ben says, I remember around 1990, the flea market near me had loads of stores with Star Wars figures just thrown in boxes to buy. It was like heaven, yeah. I mean, looking back, if you were getting last 17 figures for 50 pence, and we turned our noses up at those because we were moved, I mean, I had moved on to Action Force at that point, but what a mistake to make. Um, Kickback says, yep, I'm from Ireland, I agree. It's Christmas when you watch the late toy show. I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. Um, so Tim is also saying he was born in 77, so for him it was mostly the Jedi line. So I actually feel quite lucky that I was able to get in during during Empire Strikes Back, because I think that's the best period of the whole line. But maybe others will disagree. But for me, the Empire toys are the best. And Monkey Boy, just to clarify, born in 77, not 77 years old. Yeah, I figured when you said you were into toys that I remember that you wouldn't be an old man at this point. In fact, that's not true because I am an old man. But anyway, and Scuba, he opened his Motu display last night and took a big sniff. Of course, you have to. Although I don't think any modern toys have given me that same rush that I got from sniffing toys in the 80s. Excuse me. I'm going to try and race through this a bit because I'm thinking I might do a bit of a practice run going through catalogues again, because I have one called up on standby that we're not going to be using in the Christmas live streams, so we can do that. And this is a good point. So uh, Lewis was where Debenhams is now. It had a huge toy section in 83. I got the Q Force. They had Star Wars, Action Man, Action Force, Britain's Toy Soldiers. Yeah. I'm trying to remember now exactly, but in Edinburgh, just on Princess Street alone, going from east to west, we had Woolworths on the east. I got Star Wars figures there. We had British Home Stores. We had Littlewoods. We had Boots. We had John Menzies. We had Debenhams. And we had House of Fraser. And I'm certain I got Star Wars figures from all of those stores. Uh, and as I said earlier, my town had two sources for Star Wars figures. Such was its popularity, it literally was everywhere. Sadly, no longer the case. And you know what? I've said this many times, but where I live here in Brooklyn, there are, aside from the Target that's about 2 miles away, the only other sources for toys really are Walgreens and a little bit further up Duane Reade. And I pop in there quite frequently for other things, but I always take a look at the toy section. And in the last year, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And we're in the lead up to Christmas, and the toy section is as barren as I've ever seen it. There's not a single action figure for sale. There are no Transformer toys for sale. And you would think they would have it extra stocked for Christmas, but not the case. So Scott is saying he was born in 73, thinks it was the perfect timing. 4 years old when Star Wars debuted. And I saw it at the drive-in multiple times. Yeah, I'm still thinking that 73, 74 might be the prime year to have been born to have enjoyed the best of the 80s. Scott was born in 73. I think it was the perfect timing. Oops, I just read that one, sorry. Biker, my vintage snow speeder has Kenner Canada markings underneath. Had no idea when I purchased it online 3 years ago. Oh, and retro blasting. There were still Jedi figures hanging on pegs in Hersham, UK in 92. Ask me how I know? But a tri-logo Jedi look that day. Still have it carded. Wow, 92. That is something. Again, by that point in time, Star Wars was the least of my concerns. So even if I had seen them hanging up, I would sadly have walked right by. Goonies says, I got the Death Star playset Christmas 78 and the Falcon for my birthday, I think the following year. Magic. Yep, magic indeed. Um, Transformers were too pricey. We got GoBots. Yeah, my first ever transforming toy was a GoBot. And as it transpired, it was a knockoff GoBot as well. But I did manage to solve that mystery. Was that last year or was it earlier this year? I can't remember now, but I managed to track down the very knockoff GoBot that I had. That would have been back in '84, I think. Yeah, Jay makes a great point. Megatron was a really crappy transformer. It certainly was. Uh, for me, robot form looks pretty awful, but I did not like the fact that it transformed into a basically a role-playing toy for humans. I like my transformers to be vehicles, so they all kind of fit into the same look. Obviously, aside from Soundwave, which is just too cool to ignore. Yeah, and Jonathan confirms that they were really crazy compared to other toy lines back then. And I'm going to jump ahead. So the time we're at is 3:30. That's perfect. And wow, I am really, really, really far behind. Good Lord. Um, Tree Theodore, thank you so much, sir. Beyond generous. And he says, hope everyone in the chat is great. Stay awesome, all things 18. Well, thank you so much, sir. So generous of you. And this is really embarrassing just how far behind I am with the chat. I'm just wondering if I need to sort of. So these live streams that I do, I like to try and get to as many of the, or as much of the chat as possible. But as I'm showing here, I fall way behind, and by the time I read the comments, that topic is already well past. I'll do my best though. Excuse me, Pee Wee Herman. Yes, so it was Pee Wee Herman that Tim was talking about. Biker got his Jedi figures at British Home Stores. I would get £1.75 pocket money each week from my gran, just enough for a Star Wars figure. Yeah. And Scott is saying Iron Brew available at Amazon for 23 for a 6-pack. So I got the 12-pack and it was like $39. But it actually came the next day. So obviously somewhere in America there's a warehouse of Iron Brew. And Keith Knight is confirming, yes, Marshalls, Littlewoods, Great Universal Stores, Empire Stores, all catalogs when I was growing up. Ken, good to see you. Never too late. And the Badger, don't worry about being late. And George says the reason he remembers was there were big Action Force displays with all the new vehicles. Yeah, that was always the best. So Tim says, I bet you got spanked for looking at those naughty pictures. No, because no one knew, because these were catalogs that my mom had finished with. So I would always enjoy them afterwards. And Bjorn has always gotten something Star Wars related for Christmas. I'm trying to think. I think I've done reasonably well in recent years. But a lot of that's down to the fact that the stores are just filled with Mandalorian merch. Uh, Again, ton of Grogu stuff is out on the shelves here, and it really is a bit overboard now. I'm actually kind of sick of seeing him. I walk into Walgreens, boom, there's Grogu. I walk into where else? Rite Aid, same thing. And this is talking about the old St James Centre in Edinburgh. Yes, HMV on the left. You'd have to walk to the end. Intersport, that's the one I wanted to know. Thank you, sir. Intersport, yeah. I got a lot of my football stuff from there. Okay. You see, this is. I'm not going to say I'm getting sick of it because that's just going to encourage it. But this whole this whole woke business is okay. Let me just stress for the record: I am not woke in any way, shape, or form, and these guys, these clowns, are continually pushing this button. Uh, you're not clever, you're not smart, so kindly piss off. My aunt worked at a biscuit factory, and her best friend worked at Palatoy. They used to swap boxes of broken biscuits for Action Man seconds. We had some good presents. Oh my God. Biscuits and Action Man, or biscuits and Palatoy for that matter. My God, what a combo. Fantastic. Um, yeah, Jetfire is awesome. A repaint of the Super VF1S, is that from Super Dimensions Fortress Macross from 82, or its dubbed American version Robotech. Right. Um, so the golden turd on top of St James Centre is to represent the Jambos. I can agree with that. I just jumped one there. Your St James recall is on the money. HMV at the front, and inside John Lewis, trip down the escalators. Ah, yes, that's right. The upper level of John, or the first level you walked in at John Lewis would have been what? Makeup and things. The toy section was definitely down, and that exit with the revolving door took you onto what? The top of, God damn it, what's it called? Leith Walk? Is that it? I think so. Um, So Bobby says one of his biggest dreams is to do his Christmas shopping in Piccadilly Circus with brass bands playing on every street corner. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. I love watching old Christmas footage where everything just seems so quaint, so innocent, and like you said, brass bands playing and snow falling, and carts selling hot chestnuts. What I'd give to go back in time. What? When he got to be about 12, my dad started getting me a copy of Playboy in my Christmas stocking. Wow. And Scott says, Iron Brew is supposedly available at my local Publix. Interesting. I'm not sure if I've said this one before, but I actually found Iron Brew in a supermarket in Bangkok, Thailand. So it gets around as old Iron Brew. So the Jenner's Cafe is still there. Now, didn't they close Jenner's recently, or is it reopened? Or was it something about some sort of Swedish owner had bought it and did nothing with it? I don't know. Maybe if you comment now, I'll get to it eventually. Oh, God. Here we go. Jenner's now completely closed down, waiting refurbishment into hotel. Oh, no. Fraser's is now a Johnny Walker too. Oh, come on. So what's left on Princes Street? I'm assuming Marks and Spencer's would still be there. Oh my God, there's absolutely nothing really from my childhood left because the HMV and Virgin are long gone. John Menzies long gone. Woolworth long gone. Burger King gone. Not Burger King, the other one. Wimpy gone. So sad. World made of cardboard. Good to see you. Lego has always been too expensive for me. That's why I made my toys out of cardboard. Yeah, I mean, and to think back when we had Lego, there were no big franchises involved, so it was just Lego doing their thing. The price nowadays for the Star Wars, the Batman, it's ridiculous. So Kickback says the Godzilla Hotel has posters of every Godzilla movie in the reception, are, and on the roof there is one-to-one scale, fully animatronic head that moves. Its mouth opens, it roars, and its eyes light up. That sounds pretty cool. Excuse me. So Ben likes to watch The Dark Crystal at Christmas. It always comes on at TV at Christmas, even though it has nothing to do with it. That's the thing. Given that last year in my Christmas countdown videos, I pretty much I what did I do? I pretty much covered, or I pretty much used all my material. Um, I used pretty much all my good material for the Christmas countdown, so I don't think I've got any material left to do Christmas countdown videos. But what I do intend doing is when we do these live streams starting next Thursday, we will focus on 1 year in the 80s. I'll maybe look at the Christmas BBC One listing for Christmas Eve, because those were still quite special days for TV. So we'll maybe do that and see what was broadcast on Christmas Eve back in the day. Okay, again, I'm going to apologize if you've left a great comment and I don't call it out. I'm just trying to get through this. So Chris has a good comment here. What I loved at Christmas was getting the radio times, TV times, and marking the films, etc., to watch with a pen for every day of the holidays. Miss them days. That nostalgia has gone up. Oh, absolutely. That was a absolute joy when or in my case, my mum would come home with the radio and TV times, and you would flick through them. In fact, they always did like a highlight of what was going to be shown, like a section, maybe a dozen or so pages of highlights. But then you would get to every day broken down by the hour, and it was just such a thrill to see what was going to get broadcast that year. And that's actually how I saw Empire Strikes Back for the first time, was when it was broadcast one Christmas. What's this? For those in the UK, I remember an episode of Changing Rooms with Laurence Llewellyn Bowen in it, and her was in a house with a vintage Star Wars collection. He said, a man looked strange. Wow. Did he actually say it by name, or did he just say that looks strange? Because if he knows who a man is, that's pretty good knowledge. Similar to my experience. Remember seeing the whole last 17 line in the Jolly Giant in Jordan Hill for 79 pence each. Got Luke and Stormtrooper. Wow. So yours were what, 30p more than mine would have been. Tim says Ghostbusters was a line I didn't care about too much. Also, Temple of Doom toy line I didn't get into either, but that line died real quickly. Yeah, I certainly was not into those lines at all. Probably way too old by that point. So Tree Theodore says the lights are already starting to build the spirit in my neighborhood. Yeah, we actually have the street Christmas lights are up. They're not lit up yet, and I'm going to have to take a picture because I don't want to ruin my joke. But there there's a bit of humor involved with what they have up. Excuse me. Ah, as I was saying about the Mago grey faces, Scuba has very kindly called up Vintage Toy Rush's fix for those grey Mago faces. So if you are thinking of getting a Mago and you're worried the face is grey, worry no more. It can be cured. Wow, this is interesting. So Gerard was born in 84, and when you received Boulder Hill from the Fat Man and read one, it blew my mind for you. So Boulder Hill, I think, came out, what, 85, 86? So you must have been really young when you got it. And again, the smaller you are, the bigger these things seem, and that would have seemed absolutely enormous for a little kid, what, 3 or 4 years old? What's this? Dean, old, vintage, you look pretty young, but you're backdated. Yeah, that's one. I am very conscious of getting old. It's just this last maybe year or two, it's been playing on my mind quite a bit. Wow. So Samantha got the Death Star from a yard sale in '83, wound up being both Death Stars depending on my mood that day. Wow. So Biker got the Action Force Q-Force Sea Lion on my first ever trip to London at Hamleys, '83 or '84, I think. Wow. So this is good. So the last vintage Star Wars figures I saw on the shelves when Woolworths went out of business was Admiral Akbar and Lando Skiff Guard disguise. Yeah, probably what two of the not the least desirable, but not particularly great figures, I'd have to say. So the Badger says, born in '74, child of the '80s and youth of the '90s. Bloody brilliant timing. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And Bobby says the GoBot knockoffs were actually as good quality as if. Yeah, I would agree with that. In fact, even to this day, the Chinese knockoff Transformers, the G1s, just as good as the originals. Scuba raises a good point. Anyone into the knockoff Motu figures by Sungold, Remco, etc.? I'm loving grabbing these as I find them. I was not aware of these, so thank you for pointing that out. Um, Kieran says, just this week, all of the UK toy stores are creating panic by claiming that they are low on toys. An obvious sales tactic, but I bet all of the parents, grandparents will fall for this weekend. Yeah, no doubt. Although, as I said earlier, the state of my local Walgreens, maybe there is something in it, because for this to be what the last week in November and the toy section to be basically empty, that's not a good sign. Kieran says, "Don't worry about the chat. We understand. Just get to the underwear catalogue." So this one. Have you ever considered to start purchasing the modern vintage collection and Black series, specifically the ESB and OG trilogy? Not really, but you do make a good point. If I ever were to collect these lines, it would definitely be OG trilogy only. That and nothing else would ever pique my interest. Like when I was collecting Star Wars Lego, I only bought vehicles and playsets from the first three movies. But now Kieran is saying that his local Smith's Toys is filled floor to ceiling with toys. You know, I've seen a lot of videos of people going into Smith's. That's a hell of a store you got going on there. Um, Nothing like it here in America, sadly. Ah, and the Pee Wee toy line was cancelled when he was caught. Well, I'm assuming by bad behaviour. I think he wasn't he like jerking off in the adult movie theater? What an odd thing to do, and what a humiliating thing to get caught for. I mean, that's what laptops are for. Anyway, uh, KB never got Star Wars for Christmas. I can recall. It was always GI Joe. We got Sky Strikers, Hydrofoil, even a short-lived Defiant, which was broken and lost soon after. Oh wow! Um, in the 80s, Roses was the upscale Kmart, not the bottom feeder of today. At Christmas, they had a Santa's workshop that took up a third of the entire store. They had the big toys that no one else had. Speaking of that, in the UK, we called it Santa's Grotto, and all the big stores would have the Santa's Grotto. And I think your parents would buy you a ticket. You would stand in line, and when it was your turn, you would sit on Santa's lap and tell him what you wanted, and he would hand you a generic specific toy. I still remember the time. I could only have been maybe 3 or 4, but our local co-op upstairs that I've said before is where I got a lot of Star Wars figures. They had a small Santa's grotto, and I remember getting this little tiny plastic train set from Santa. Oh my god, those were wonderful times. And it was like that was when I really believed in Santa. So to actually see him and sit on his lap was quite a thrill. Although hopefully he wasn't a dirty old man under that costume. So Jonathan also says the Smiths is full, floor to ceiling. So what the hell's going on in America then? Every day I see on social media posts from people in Walmart or Target, and there's like nothing there. I mean, I'm assuming you have scalpers in the UK who buy everything to sell on eBay. No reason why they should be much better off than the stores in America. Uh, my mother at first did not want to get me Star Wars toys. She didn't approve of toys with war in the title, but she finally gave in. For Christmas, I got the Falcon, AT-AT, Cloud Car, and many figures. Wow, that's a very nice Christmas. Wow. So Iron Brew was popular in Russia. Interesting. And Jim says that HMV left Canada when streaming made them obsolete. Yeah, streaming has a lot to answer to. Um, Record stores, bookstores, photography stores. Um, I mean, at the rate we're going, um, I hope toys still remain a thing and that kids of the future aren't just playing games online. Um, the Jenner sign has been put back on the store due to legal reasons. Yeah, I heard something about that, but the fact that it's no longer a department store is very sad. Uh, Chicken Man. Iron Brew was the main hangover cure when I was in the Royal Navy, nectar of the gods. I've often heard that, but I have tried it as a hangover cure and it didn't really work for me. In all honesty, I don't think there is a hangover cure or none that I've found that worked. Um, was there not a John Lewis in Glasgow too? Could swear that it was on the top floor with a massive toy section. Islands and isles of carded Star Wars poured into them. I'm sure there would have been. Um, and then George says, no, it was just Lewis. Hmm. And again, on this topic, do you remember where John Lewis was in Glasgow in the 80s? Was it near where the Enoch Centre is now on Argyle Street? What's this? My son keeps telling me off for giving my Star Wars toys to the kid next door back in '87. Who knew? Who knew indeed? Well, I actually knew, and I still sold them in 2005. One of the biggest regrets ever. And what's Jonathan saying? Uh, Never tried it as can't get it over here, so curious as to what someone like Dean, who grew up on similar food and drink to us over this side of the pond, makes of it. And I don't know what we're talking about here. Um, okay, what's this? I prefer a bowl of bourbon instead, light on the nog. So we're talking about eggnog. Ah, here we go. What are your thoughts on eggnog? Eggnog, I like it, but it's not something you can drink a lot of. It's so rich, creamy. It's basically, so in the UK they have, what is it, single cream and double cream. So basically, if you imagine a cup of single cream with maybe an egg yolk beaten through it, a ton of sugar and some cinnamon, and drinking it, and you actually feel it slowly gludging down your throat. It's plus a bit of alcohol as well. It's definitely an acquired taste. I like if I get one glass of eggnog for the whole Christmas period, I'm happy. So yes, I do like it, but it's not something I would drink too much of. Ben says, "What was your favorite Black series?" I don't know if that's addressed at me or not, but I don't have one because it's not really on my register. And the whole the whole debacle with this Rancor, I don't understand what was on with these toy companies. Some of the decisions they make no sense whatsoever. Ah, Lando Skiff and Leia Bush were my favorite figures as a kid. The fact they had removable helmets really sold. Yeah, those were really cool figures back then. I agree. Um, and Tree Theater says, "Thanks for rekindling my interest in 80s toys. It's been an awesome year for acquiring a few I never had." Absolutely. There's nothing better. In fact, what is better, like, 3 decades plus after the fact, is getting something you used to have as good a feeling as getting something you never had but wanted. I There's something about getting a toy that I used to have that is very satisfying to me. And of course, the memories just come flooding right back. Um, so this is addressing the fact that Smiths UK have all the toys in stock. I reckon Smiths being fully stocked all the time is them being just a toy store, saying that their Star Wars section is tiny compared to other brands like Motu, Transformers, and Lego. Yeah. Usual Mike is here. Good to see you. Let me see. Ah, so Biker says, yes, depressing when you go into Smith's, wall to wall WWE and Funko Pop, a tiny sliver of Star Wars, but about a million Baby Yoda. So, okay, so it's maybe not that great after all. So, this is a hangover cure. Drink water after every 2 drinks. Tried that as well. I still get the splitting headache and upset stomach. Best hangover cure is a fry up and plenty of water. Yeah. As I was saying, are you going to get the HasLab Rancor? I heard Michael French caved and ordered five. Oh, wait, joking. Yeah. Nope. I have absolutely no interest in something like that. So how much of that is parents leaving it to the last minute to buy that year's most popular toy? Yeah, although they have been sort of forcing home the message that if you don't buy your things now, you won't get them. Who knows if that's just trying to stimulate the economy or not? But, so far, I've had no issues getting the things I've wanted for Christmas. Ah, so Soda wanted a Rally Super Tough burner for Christmas '83 and got a BMX 2000. I've never heard of it. Still loved taking it off some sweet jumps. Um, yes, I think I was lucky enough. It would have been after '83, possibly '84, that I got the Super Tough 2 burner, which I absolutely loved until Rally came out with the Team burner, which I thought looked so much better than mine, although it was essentially the same bike, just different colors. Ah, yes, that's a good point, Keith. What the hell? Where is it? Yeah, Advoca is very similar, like an egg-based, thick, creamy drink. I'm trying to think if you were to add a bit of cinnamon to Advoca, would it be the same? In fact, I would say take Advoca, a bit of single cream, and a bit of cinnamon and nutmeg, and there's your eggnog. Again, not something you want to be drinking a great deal of. Although I do remember at Christmas I would get Advoca with lemonade, and it would be stirred up, and that was pretty good. That I used to get at Christmas time, so I'd get Advoca and lemonade, sherry and lemonade, and then once it came on the market, peach schnapps. I'd get peach schnapps and lemonade. Yeah, my parents were actually pretty cool in terms of letting me have drinks. Although to be fair, it's probably like this much alcohol and the rest of it was lemonade. But it made me feel good and felt part of the family when they were having their Christmas drinks. So this is going back to the Rancor. The only way that crap HasLab Rancor is getting made is if a shitload of Hasbro staff suddenly sign up for it. Didn't hasn't it lost support since they announced what was all coming with it? What a farce. Um, so Samantha does say it is part of the holiday experience. Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, that's the thing though, because the, the beer that I'm drinking, so I don't claim to be a beer connoisseur, as is evident by the fact that I will gladly drink a dozen cans of Coors Light over some fancy microbrew. But I know that in Thailand, the brand Leo, I don't get a hangover from that, but the brand Chang get a stinking hangover with. So Logan is on lunch break and enjoying the chats. Glad to hear it. So Tree has picked up Vintage Rancor, Death Star, Falcon, and Wampa, and several figures. Excellent. Yes. Baby Sham, another classic Christmas drink when I was a kid in the 80s. Do they still do Baby Sham? I remember, didn't they have it in those weird glasses where it's like a really sort of flat bowl with a stem? And didn't they have like, it was very much a baby champagne, so it had like the foil over the top. But I don't think it had a cork. I think it might have been a screw top. But yeah, I'd love to know if they still had Baby Sham. In fact, one thing I did when I was back in Scotland 2 years back was I got hold of, I had to buy a 4-pack, but of Sweetheart Stout. because I remember my granddad would drink that, and I bought myself a 4 pack. I couldn't. It was like drinking soda. It was like delicious. It was like so sweet, and what was like 2 or 3% alcohol. It was pretty delicious. Who also remembers the cans of? I think it was Tennant's Lager. Was it Tennant's? I think so. But they had the sexy girls on the side of the cans because you'd always see the discarded cans down a country path, and you would be keen to see what girl was on the side because they were all like beautiful stunners, possibly in lingerie. I don't quite remember. So Jonathan's confirming that it's lost the best part of 400 backers since they announced those crappy tier goals. Like I said, I don't know why is it there's so much in the way of vintage toy collectors who are active on social media, who voice their opinions as to what figures they would like to see produced, what vehicles they want to see produced, and Hasbro just ignores all of that and does what they want to do anyway. And it seems that for the most part, they get things so wrong. Yeah. So a couple of cans of Shandy Bass on Christmas Day felt like a proper bloke. Yeah. For the Americans watching, Shandy Bass was actually sold as a soda, but it was made with real beer. So again, I have to explain that lemonade in the UK is essentially 7-Up or Sprite without the lime flavors. It was a clear, sparkling lemon drink. So beer and lemonade mixed. And the funny thing was when you poured it out of the can, it looked like a real pint of beer. It was pretty cool. Top Deck was the other brand that did Shandy. Loved that stuff. In fact, I think Schweppes did their own Shandy as well. Soda. He bought the 35th anniversary rally Super Tough in 2019. The kids enjoyed watching an older me trying a few endos. Still great fun. You know what? I did look at that on eBay, but the problem for me was, like I said, I had the Super Tough 2 burner. Had they reissued the Super Tough 2, I may have got myself one, but because the Super Tough, I think didn't have like the V handlebars, and there were some other differences. Plus, it had where the frame comes together. It had that little metal piece that mine didn't have, so it was different enough to mine that I didn't get tempted by it. So you can still get Babycham. I don't know what Cherry B is, but that's nice. You can still get Babycham. I think my grandma used to take a Babycham at Christmas. Excuse me. One thing I did do is when cleaning my parents' house, I brought back some of the glasses, and in particular, the sherry flutes that my mom and grandma used to drink sherry from. So whenever I make the sherry trifle for Christmas, I always pour some sherry into those glasses and drink it. It brings back wonderful memories. George remembers the cans of Tennants with the ladies on the side. That's excellent. So I think the Babycham glasses are collectibles now. I think they still sell Babycham. I've not had a drink and booze in about 3 years. Wow, good for you. So the backers backed out because the Rancor looked terrible. The Legacy Rancor looks miles better and cheaper. And KB is saying the worst part of the Hasbros is that they harp if you don't back and blow away everything they offer, you won't get any more. The Rancor and the Sky Striker are both falling short, and they are freaking okay. And this is the narrative from Hasbro seems to be these are all made for kids, but I personally think the opposite, that they are purchasing Star Wars merchandise. No, $400 toys are not for kids. What's this? Kenny Long says, "Hi Dean, love your channel." Well, thank you. Took the week off work for Thanksgiving here in America. I'm at a bar restaurant waiting for my nephew and his new bride to celebrate their marriage. Oh, congratulations. Ah, Jeff is here. Good to see you. Well, let's talk about big boobs, beer, and toys. But mostly, yeah, those are all great subjects, actually. They really are. Um, so there's always a few on eBay, some still in the box. It's the best example of its all released versions. Had the proper super chrome on it. Okay. Um, so this Kenny says we need Tony from Analog Toys, Michael from Retro Blasting, and then all the cool people will be here. Well, Michael's floating around, he's listening, and Tony should be tucked up in bed. Oh, hi, Luke. No, no reason to excuse yourself. Ah, so KB says the Hasbros are freaking out. All right, so now that I think I'm caught up, I'm going to do a quick test here in anticipation for the Christmas live streams. So I've already picked the years we're going to look at in the live streams, and I'm trying to think if I should. Nah, I'm not going to give away anything just yet. One of the years we are not looking at is going to be 1982. So just to sort of see if I can still do this, because I've not done this since the Iconicon live streams. But let's take a look at the toy catalog from Christmas 1982. And sadly, the way this one's been scanned, it is a little bit on the small side, so I will have to enlarge it. And I'm still waiting to see when I catch up on my YouTube monitor if this is actually working, because, and yes, it is. So, starting with, this is the Philips G7000 video computer game, and I have never seen this before. And if we look here, it was coming in at £90, which isn't at all bad. And the games seem to range in price from what, 15 to £27. I mean, games back then really were rather expensive. And this one from Mattel Electronics is the Intellivision. Again, something I'm not familiar with, but that was £140 back then. Very expensive stuff. Now, this is one I'm very familiar with. I played this many a time, the Atari. And it came with a free combat game, but this was only £90, which isn't bad. However, we're talking about £28 for games. And as you can see, the graphics are not what we come to expect in this day and age. And down here, the Binatone, which I don't recall playing with, but the Grandstand color game I may have played with at a next door neighbor's house. I do remember playing Pong on a similar style of game system, so that's something. But the tabletop electronic games, I have a lot of great memories playing with. One of which was Astro Wars, which I still have. And the suggested retail was £33, which is quite a lot of money for back then. But Argos were doing it for a mere £23. Munchman is a game a classmate of mine had, and one summer we swapped games. So I gave him my Astro Wars, he gave me Munchman, and we played them for the summer and then swapped back when we went back to school after the holidays. Those were some great memories. And actually, I'm going to have to jump out of this for 1 second because I have to call up some generous super chat. So this is from A World Made of Cardboard. Thank you so much. just a quick early Christmas present for you. Merry Christmas. Love the streams and your content. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And Jim Largo has come in. Happy holidays, Dean. Looking forward to your Christmas live streams. Thank you, Jim. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much. Unbelievable kindness in this community. Yeah, quite remarkable. So now we've got still electronic. I remember number 5 was the Speak and Spell, which, of course, if you watch Toy Polloi videos, you will hear that voice spelling out Toy Polloi. And another one that looks somewhat familiar is this basically glorified calculator, which was the Little Professor. I remember some kids at school having that. Simon, still going strong to this day. And here's the Dark Tower game. That was something I always fancied, but because I was raised as an only child, I didn't really get to enjoy much in the way of board games. Big Track, another classic from the 80s. Computer Battleships, another one that I always wanted. It seems that whenever I look at these old catalogues, it's always things I wished I had. Twister, again, another classic game. Hangman. I seem to remember we would just play that with a pencil and a piece of paper. Yahtzee, never played that, and it has to this day has never interested me. Stay Alive, not to be confused with the Bee Gees song, but that looks so in my opinion. And Game of Life was another one that seemed to be present in most of these catalogues as each year went by. Flap, or Don't Get in a Flap. I don't know that one at all, but we'll move on. So here, I thought that was Hungry Hippos for a second, but this is in fact Grabbin' Dragons by Ideal. Only £5, not bad. Try Ominoes. Nothing wrong with a good old game of dominoes. You don't need to make it any more complicated. Mousetrap, I did get as a hand-me-down, and I don't think I ever played the game, but I did set up the trap to make the little guy dive into the tub. Crossfire was another fantastic game, and from the hit TV show It's a Knockout. Now, I think, I could be wrong, I forget the presenter's name, but he might have been revealed as being in the same sort of gang as Savile and Gary Glitter, unfortunately. I Want to Bite Your Finger, a game that I always wanted, but sadly never had. Demon Driver, had that one, and I actually enjoyed it, although it was slightly disappointing. I think in America that was called Digital Derby, which is still available to buy. I did look at them earlier this year, but the trouble is with it being a mechanical game, it's hard to find one that still actually works. So we're getting closer to the good stuff. This is sort of what you might call more educational type things. Definitely were not things I was interested in when I was a kid, although here are two that I've always wanted. Mr. Frosty and Scary Faces. But by all accounts, Mr. Frosty was just utter crap and didn't actually work. But the idea was appealing to me. And the obligatory chemistry set, again, I can understand why I was never given one, because I would have probably set fire to the house. And those microscopes were never that powerful. But the Lego, so this Technic set with the fully functioning gearbox and steering rack is a classic. How much was that back then? Number 5, £25. A lot of money back in '82, has to be said. But this is what we like to see. Now, I think number 8 was the set that Matt from the Universal Collector just built, and it looked as good now as it did back then when he was building that. And number 7 was the one I always wanted, and I think I got the one that was 2 steps down from this, so much smaller. Number 7, I always thought was very expensive back then. And £19, that's quite a lot of money. Meccano was another great toy. And of course, the Duplo was for, I always called that Lego for babies. And of course, the Lego City stuff back then was okay, but for me, it was all about space Lego. So now we're into sort of slot racing. And I mentioned this during Iconicon that I always thought that Scalextrics was number one from start to finish, but because I had Scalextrics in round about 80, 81, and it seemed that as we go through the decade, Scalextrics featured more in these catalogues, but we have Ideal, we've got Matchbox, Tyco. This one looks interesting. Number 5 is what? Number 5 is the Aurora AFX Laser 2000 TM Vertical Conquest. And that's a hell of a name, and that was £49. But as you can see, it did have the sort of vertical elements. That's kind of cool. And I was obsessed with toys that had lights on them. So I would have loved this Formula 500 High Beam. And it was Trans Am Firebird Challenge. Excellent stuff. We have a set from, so where was it? Matchbox and Corgi had their own little car sets. And there's the garage, very nice. This is stuff that I liked. Stock Car Smash, Crash Cars Bust Up. I mean, what kid wouldn't want those? And this is stuff that I did have. So actually, I tell a lie. I had the Dukes of Hazzard. What's it called? Speed Racer. It was the other set that had the ramp. But I do now have this in my possession. In fact, you know what? I should really do an updated video for my Dukes of Hazzard stuff, because I managed to re-get all the old Dukes of Hazzard toys, and those were some of the first All Things 80s videos which I don't think anyone has really seen. And this is very interesting. So the Ideal Evel Knievel, but as you will see here, as I just screw up the zoom, this is not the one that we are familiar with. And if I remember rightly, Kickback 85 had this, and it was only upon me looking at one of these catalogues a year or two back that he remembered that he had this one. So I have actually looked on eBay. I cannot find this one at all. Here's a Palatoy set, number 8. Looks like one of those air-filled type things. So number 8 was an air blaster powered by air. Pump it up, nudge it forward, and off it goes with a realistic engine noise. That sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. Streak racing was like glow-in-the-dark stuff. Fantastic. The Milton Bradley Electronics Space Avenger. Number 10 was costing £16. Yeah, reasonable amount of money, actually. And there's the Fisher-Price Alpha Probe. I've seen that recently. I can't remember which channel, but that's definitely a popular toy to this day. And we have down here, I saw chips. Look at that motorcycle helmet set. We've got a Dukes of Hazzard dress-up set with, I mean, I think it's a cool-looking belt buckle, but I'm assuming that that wouldn't fly these days. This is the Ideal climbing Spider-Man, although that looks different in sculpt to the one that I had and currently have. The one I had is the one that had the little flashlight he would hold. In fact, tell a lie, mine was Remco, I think. This is Ideal. It's actually a different product. But look at this. I can't read that. Is that Sharna Toys? That's like, is that knockoff Action Man? Corgi were in on the old military scene, but here's the real deal. So this is the training tower and the talking commander that I did have, and a wonderful aircraft. So let's get some detail. That was 5 and 7. So the Action Man training tower was costing £18, but for only £9 you would get the talking commander, and that was the pursuit craft, which converts to 4 different vehicles: seaplane with working winch, land car, seacraft, and aeroplane for £13. Not at all bad. And in 1982, despite the fact the Empire had been on the go for 2 years, this is all we get for Star Wars. So a 4-pack of figures, 2 of which were from the original line. So number 8, 4 figures for £4.75. A Palatoy Slave 1, £12. The Snow Speeder. In fact, this is the one I had because I remember I had the Empire box on mine. Number 10, £12 for a Snow Speeder. And into the really good stuff, the Falcon and the AT-AT. So the Falcon, £20, and the AT-AT, £28. Those were very expensive back in 1982. We got some budget toys here. We have the Talking Stories. This is Wurzel Gummidge. So book and cassette, £2.15. Same with Superman. We got a Spider-Man action pack, and it contains a belt, a mask, notebook and pen, press card, play camera, and rub-down transfers, all for £1.95. That right there is a hell of a bargain. We got some electronic sort of disco-looking things. Dialer Design, clearly a rip-off of Spirograph. Scatter Skittles. You know what? Those look very familiar to me. I had something similar, but the Skittles were made of red plastic. And I do remember sort of trying to blow them like a trumpet rather than play Skittles. The Wrist Racer, I had and still do have one of those. Those were great toys, although clearly doesn't fit on my wrist nowadays. Rubik's Cube, again, very popular in 82. So we're into sort of really kid stuff. So I'm sure most of us here have no interest in this stuff. But you do have to be careful because this is where Fisher-Price was often hidden, the adventure people. So you have to scan the old bloody Orville. Number 18, how much was that? And I hope this wasn't a talking one. 12-inch cuddly toy version of Keith Harris's well-known TV character. So £5. Thankfully, it didn't talk because that would have been very annoying. Actually, I'm sure most of us, despite not being people who played with girls' toys, will remember this Palatoy treehouse. That seemed to be everywhere. Like every school or church hall had one of these lying around. And as I said, you have to scan through this to get to the adventure people. So here is the outdoor adventure set with the RV, the canoe, the parachutist, who, again, I have to stress, that is not meant to be Evel Knievel, despite him having a jumpsuit with blue and white stars. And the motorcycle, which was also used as part of the sidecar set. And as we discovered recently, with the sidecar set, came with 2 figures, and the rider was actually called Dean, which I think is rather cool. And I think that's really it for the stuff that would interest us, although we have Barbie. I always remember Cindy being another doll's name, but I'm not sure when that came out. And that's it. That's the end. So I hope you enjoyed that little quick glance through that catalogue. Like I said, for these live streams, we'll be focusing on specific years, and we'll play a little game with the guests. So obviously, I have completely missed the comments, so I'll try to go back. But my God, you guys are just commenting so much. Where do I start? So Kenny is saying, Uh, Atari, loved that system. My dad would play Space Invaders on end. I miss my dad. He passed October from a heart attack. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, so Jonathan, one of his mates had Atari 2600, but had the worst taste in games, and always got awful ones that sucked to play. Um, Munchman, he comes after the weed. Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of knockoff names for a Pac-Man game, Munchman was probably the best he could come up with. Um, Usual Mike says the speak and spell was fun, learning swear words with my brothers. Of course, we always take toys that had good intentions and turn it into something naughty. Um, Geek Toy says, love looking through old catalogues. Had quite a few of those Nintendo Game and Watch handheld games. They were cool, yeah. So Luke had Tank Command or something. It was awful. Uh, then we got Pitfall. That was wicked. I don't remember Pitfall. The Little Professor is definitely a double entendre. Yeah, Battleships was a fun game. In fact, that was another game you could actually play with a grid of drawn with paper and a pencil. Yeah, here's a good question. If you had Big Trek, could you ever get it to do anything? My friend had one, and he said, just punch in anything you like. And I just punched in a bunch of numbers. And all it did was remain stationary and made a beep about 70 or 80 times. Um, wow, it's windy out there. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, it looked a lot better than it probably really was. Yeah, pencil and paper is the hangman game. Uh, Twister is a fun drinking game, but we won't go there right now. Yeah, I could see that. Chris says, oh my lord, I remember Munchman. The only downfall was after playing it every day, I'd end up with a dodgy adapter. And if it would slightly move, you have to start again. Great memory. Yeah, I don't know exactly what you mean. That part where it went into the adapter and it had it was like a pyramid type shape. You had to sort of watch that because the wires would come really loose. Stuart Hall. Yes. So was he revealed to be one of these pedos? I think so, right? Yeah. And Chicken Man says, I want to bite your finger is one. We always wanted the games that seemed to be a bit dangerous, although I did get the Jaws game, but you had to take the sea debris out of his mouth and it was terrible. It didn't work at all. Excuse me. Yep. He got porridge, so okay. And Chris is also confirming, yeah, proper wrong. Yeah. And I think that was another BBC show, It's a Knockout. So there you go. Let's see anything. Yeah, world made of cardboard. No one ever trusted him with a chemistry. Did anyone actually get a chemistry set? Because it seems that most of us weren't allowed one. The Technic car. I think Dave at Vintage Toy Rush has one of those. It's a wonderful toy. Oh, hang on. Yes, he did, in fact, get one again. I thought so. And there is Scuba giving the link to the Lego set that I just did say that Matt recently built. My brother got the Dukes of Hazzard set. You know what? I'm going to dig all that stuff out and do a video again. I think I've got 4 or 5 of these things that I did actually. I think I screwed myself a bit with all things 80s because the first bunch of videos I did were all vintage unboxings. But because there were no subscribers, hardly anyone has seen them. And I may have wasted the initial unboxing, but I can always pretend to unbox them. Wow. Never a fan of Lego, even as a kid. Perhaps for a New York Minute. Wow. I thought every kid loved Lego. So Luke is saying, me and my brother got the mighty Metro Skeletric set in the 80s. I got the Metro while he got the Audi Quattro. Wow. I got skunked every time. Whisk Electrics, my dad got the car that had the three sets of wheels. It was still like a Formula One style car, but it was weird. It had a pair of wheels or two pairs of wheels at the back and one up front, and it had so much weight it would never fly off the track. So he would always beat me when he was racing that one. Um, so Bearded always wanted that Evil Knievel but never got one. And Scuba, yes, Evil jumped everything. Uh, Alpha Probe always made me think of Buck Rogers. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we always used vinyl record sleeves as Evil's jump ramp. Um, One time, it was the last day of term in primary three. Someone brought their Evil Knievel in, and we used our class's encyclopedias to build the best ramp you've ever seen. And we got about two or three jumps into it when the teacher saw what we were doing and immediately told us to put it away because we were going to ruin the books. Typical. Um, Kieran had the original Evil Knievel, but the one in this catalogue is, yeah, that's what I said. It's like, I've never seen that one before. Having searched for it, still can't find one. I wondered if maybe Argos got some knockoffs by mistake. Who knows? Um, so Kenny's asking for the folks in America Turkey Day plans. He is going to his friend Brett's going to watch football, eat way too much food, and then a nice food coma. I'm making stuffed celery, cream cheese with diced green olives. Sounds interesting. Yeah, his Chicken Man sister had the big boot house. Yeah, it's another one that always seemed to appear everywhere back in the 80s. Scuba's going to have too much ham, bourbon, and football. Um, I think I'm getting reasonably well caught up because we've already gone past the 2 hour. Goonies has the big track, but it's tough to program. Yeah, very. Jonathan asks, does anyone remember the Prince Argust lead soldier kits? You melted lead nuggets in a little pan and poured it into little molds to make toy soldiers. Tons of different molds you could buy. Wow, that sounds, on the one hand, very dangerous, but on the other hand, absolutely awesome. Okay. Yes, when someone commented that Stuart Hall was doing porridge, that meant prison time. And then Bobby Collins says, yes, gives me some context and perspective on the Ronnie Barker series. Yes. I still don't know. Doing porridge, what does that mean? Like, I don't know. But obviously, it became one of these phrases that we all use, but I don't know why doing time was called doing porridge. Okay, I think I'm almost there. For the next 3 days, I hope to do as little as possible. Yeah, that sounds good. Um, and Chicken Man, sounds great. Breathing in lead fumes as a kid. Oh yeah, I mean, the stuff that we played with wouldn't pass any of these safety things nowadays, but it is what it is, and we're still here, and we can laugh about it. So I have to wrap this up. So this has been wonderful for me. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I did. And this was just like a precursor to the Christmas live streams. Now, so today is what, Tuesday. So the live streams will start again next Thursday, usual time, usual place. Uh, Thank you for those generous super chats. You guys continue to blow me away with your kindness. Thank you to the mods. I was catching at the corner of my eye that Scuba was on top of things. Hopefully, there wasn't too much in the way of arseholes to deal with. Before I go, I will say we're getting very close to the 10,000 subscriber mark, which to me is just quite phenomenal. And when that does happen, I will produce a video and we'll give the details as to how to win the sealed mask bullet vehicle, complete with Ali Bombay and his Vortex mask, and an All Things 80s prize pack, notepad, stickers, magnet, pin badge. So the minute we hit the 10,000 mark, I will do the video, and it will be a case of just commenting on that video to be entered into a draw. I think that's pretty much it. For those of you in America who are celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, is it tomorrow? No, Thursday. I'm all confused. Hope you have a wonderful time. And I'm thinking, so the next time, well, for sure, the live stream next week, I will have the festive background set up for that. And all in all, I've really enjoyed this, and the time just keeps flying by. And that just reminds me, I have to, the guy upstairs has gone away for Thanksgiving, so I have to feed his cats the minute I sign off from this. Let me just try and get through a couple more before I head off. It says, very awesome, very dangerous, and much fun indeed. Loved melting with soldiers and yeah, that sounds like a great, fantastic toy to have had. Thank you, Scuba, for asking for thumbs up. Excuse me. Dean, you're top of the pops chat. I appreciate you all. Got to bounce, work soon. Well, thank you for stopping by. Samantha says, cheers, take care, and thank you. Well, thank you for watching. Keith Knight says to Bobby, yes, mate. And we have Jonathan, man, had proper dodgy toys. Yeah, we did, but World Made of Cardboard, Thanksgiving, everyone. Yep. Goonies, you're the best. Oh, thank you. Chicken Man, yeah, great stream. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But the trouble is, it goes by so fast for me, and I feel like I'm not getting to everyone, but I do the best I can. Well, thank you, Jonathan. Yes, Samantha, happy Thanksgiving to all. Enjoyed the stream. Thank you. Kieran, fantastic live stream, Dean. Love everyone in the chat. Stay safe and take care, everyone. Thanks to the mods. Yes, indeed. Thank you. And right on target. Yes, thank you, Scuba. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. He's a bad man, our Scuba. So that bad as in what Michael Jackson's bad, that means good. Yep. I still have an hour of work left. Okay, I'll fly by. Hey, Jim says, all the best. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay in. Yep, we will. All be good. So long, pals. Have a good Thanksgiving, my colonial brothers. Timothy Ward, good to see you on the way home from work. I'll rewatch later. Happy Thanksgiving all. Yes, indeed. Yeah, be safe, Tim. Cheers, Dean. Your streams are now the official countdown to Christmas. Good. Glad to hear it. Keep up the great work. Thanks for explaining UK points of view. Oh, you're welcome. Have a good weekend. Good evening, everyone. Now I'm getting all squint-eyed. Slainty and Merry Fishmas. There's a bit of Irish there. Thanks, Dean. Cheers, Scuba. Bye, everyone. Okay, that's it. We're done. So thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you live next Thursday for the first official Christmas live stream. So I guess we will see you then.